Behind the blinding lights of The Tonight Show, beyond the polite applause and carefully timed laughter, lived a truth the audience was never meant to witness. For more than 30 years, Johnny Carson sat behind that iconic desk, not merely as a comedian, but as the silent judge of Hollywood's character. To millions, he was warm, witty, and unshakable. Behind the curtain, he was something else entirely. Observant, restrained, and unforgiving. On his stage, fame held no power, only respect did. And when that respect was broken, the punishment was never loud. There were no public confrontations, no dramatic firings. There was only silence and disappearance. Johnny Carson was not simply a television host. Long before he ruled American late night, he was a trained magician, a man who understood deception, illusion, and human weakness. That past shaped everything. He despised arrogance, exposed fraud without mercy, and believed humility was the true cost of greatness. Those who mistook his kindness for softness learned too late that his sharpest weapon was not sarcasm, but absence. This is not a story about jokes gone wrong. This is the story of Johnny Carson naming 11 guests who acted shamefully on his show. Stars who walked into the spotlight with pride and walked out erased. Some were arrogant, some were dishonest, some were broken. All were human. And behind every smile that night was a quiet lesson about fame, regret, and the loneliness of losing respect when the lights finally go out. Uri Geller walked into NBC studios in Burbank, California on August 1st, 1973, believing he would leave as a legend. At the time, he was the world's most famous psychic, bending spoons with his mind and repairing watches without touch. Millions believed he possessed supernatural abilities. What he did not know was that the man waiting behind the desk had already prepared his downfall. Chevy, having consulted skeptic James Randi, ensured that every prop on the table was supplied and inspected by the crew. When the cameras rolled, Geller tried to perform. Nothing happened. Seconds turned to minutes. The silence grew heavy. His confidence collapsed in real time. Carson never mocked him. He simply waited. For 22 agonizing minutes, America watched a man unravel. That night, illusion died under the weight of truth. Joan Rivers was not just a frequent guest, she was family. For nearly 2 decades, she was Carson's most trusted ally, the woman he trusted to host The Tonight Show in his absence. Many believed she would inherit the chair when he retired. Then came the offer from Fox Network, promising her a competing late-night show. Joan accepted, but she made one fatal mistake. She didn't tell Johnny first. When the news reached him through others, the damage was irreversible. Chevy Chase arrived at the height of his fame, riding the success of Saturday Night Live and blockbuster comedies. He believed himself untouchable. On Carson's stage, he acted like royalty rather than a guest. He interrupted constantly, insulted the audience, dismissed the band, and treated Johnny as if he were obsolete. The laughter faded. The atmosphere turned icy. Johnny tried to save the interview, but eventually stopped. He let Chevy expose himself. When the segment ended, there was no warmth, no invitation backstage. Chevy left, unaware that he had just burned a bridge that would never be rebuilt. Oliver Reed appeared on September 26, 1975, already intoxicated. Known for his talent and his alcoholism, he brought chaos onto the stage. Sitting beside him was Shelley Winters, an accomplished actress with zero tolerance for disrespect. Reed slurred his words, belittled women, and ignored Carson's attempts to control the conversation. When he crossed the final line, Shelley stood up, grabbed a glass of water, and poured it over his head. The audience gasped, then erupted in applause. Reed sat frozen, humiliated under the lights. Carson raised an eyebrow and said nothing. The moment spoke for itself. That was the price of turning his stage into a barroom. Jerry Lewis was once considered comedy royalty. But by the later years, his appearances had become exhausting. According to Carson's longtime confidant, Henry Bushkin, Johnny dreaded those nights. On air, Jerry refused to be a guest. He lectured, dominated, and treated the show like his personal pulpit. Johnny endured with professional restraint, allowing the audience to see the disconnect themselves. There was no explosion, no confrontation, just a quiet understanding that the magic was gone. Another door closed. Bob Hope was an American institution, beloved by presidents and soldiers alike. But on Carson's stage, something was missing. Hope arrived armed with scripted jokes and memorized punchlines, ignoring real conversation. Johnny asked genuine questions. Bob didn't listen. Every appearance became a promotional routine rather than a human exchange. Johnny laughed on cue, but his eyes were hollow. When Hope left, Johnny often slumped with relief. Admiration fades when legends stop respecting the moment. Wayne Newton was one of the few men who truly frightened Johnny Carson. For years, Carson joked about him during monologues, poking fun at his image and masculinity. Audiences laughed. Wayne did not. One afternoon, Newton stormed into Johnny's private office at NBC, bypassing security. There were no cameras, no jokes. He delivered a quiet but deadly ultimatum, warning Johnny that the jokes must stop or there would be consequences. Johnny recognized real danger when he saw it. The jokes vanished overnight and never returned. Jim Garrison arrived on January 31, 1968, armed with conspiracy theories about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. He believed The Tonight Show would amplify his claims. What he didn't expect was Carson's preparation. Johnny dismantled his arguments piece by piece, demanding evidence, names, and facts. Garrison stumbled, contradicted himself, and collapsed under scrutiny. Carson didn't shout, he simply applied logic. That night, a reputation was destroyed, not by courts, but by questions. Ryan O'Neal was Hollywood's golden boy in the early 1970s, celebrated for his looks and romantic roles. Audiences expected charm, humor, and engaging stories. Instead, they were met with silence, one-word answers, shrugs, and cold indifference. Johnny Carson worked tirelessly to keep the conversation alive, cracking jokes, steering questions, and filling every uncomfortable pause. The tension in the studio was almost tangible, a test of patience and skill. When Ryan finally left, Johnny removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes, visibly drained. Talent may open doors in Hollywood, but emptiness can close them just as swiftly, leaving even the best hosts weary. In his later years, Truman Capote no longer appeared as the sharp literary genius of Breakfast at Tiffany's, but as a man unraveling. Under the influence of alcohol and drugs, he rambled, forgot where he was, and revealed painful, unguarded truths. Yet Johnny never mocked him. He protected him. He gently redirected conversations, covered mistakes, and maintained a fragile dignity. The audience laughed, but it was uneasy laughter, laughter tinged with pity and recognition of genius fading. When Capote finally left the stage, Johnny Carson sighed softly. It felt like a farewell to a brilliant mind that would never return, a quiet acknowledgement of loss that went far beyond show business. In stark contrast, Charles Grodin was the exception to every rule. His hostility, arrogance, and apparent disrespect were real, or so it seemed, and audiences hated him for it. He interrupted Johnny, criticized him, and created unbearable tension. What viewers didn't know was that it was all a carefully orchestrated performance. Johnny loved it. Grodin transformed discomfort into comedy, rudeness into art, and tension into brilliance. Carson recognized the intelligence behind it, respecting the mastery of the act. Grodin became the only man allowed to challenge the king because he understood the game and played it perfectly. These 11 stories were not scandals, they were verdicts. Johnny Carson never had to shout or humiliate anyone in public. His silence carried more weight than outrage. When you lost his respect, you simply disappeared. In Hollywood, applause fades fast, but dignity never returns once it's gone. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe, because respect, like memory, only survives when we choose to remember. Thanks for watching.